Hello, YouTube. This video is not really about books like the rest of my channel is. I wanted to talk about something slightly different this week. Myself, as well as a lot of other people, were assaulted just a couple days ago by a certain tweet or a certain piece of news that popped up in our feed, which I and many others noticed read like a two-sentence horror story. And it went something to the tune of a new Moomins movie will be released. Rebecca Sugar is set to direct it. Now, when I saw that, I was frustrated and I crashed out a little bit. But I want to talk about that a little bit because I feel like I've also been fascinated by it. There's a lot of speculation that one can do about this. And I wanted to talk about it because I love the Moomins and I have a lot of experience with Rebecca Sugar's shows and a lot of mixed feelings. So I wanted to talk about them because there's a lot of discourse going on. The official Moomins subreddit, I've seen a mixture of unmitigated hype and also extreme disoptimism, pessimism, and a lot of pessimism about it. I'm a bit in the pessimistic category, so I wanted to talk about it. Now, I got into the Moomins very recently, earlier this year, in fact. Uh, it was actually while I was on a trip to Europe that I saw the Moomins and met with them because I was vaguely aware of them beforehand, but I really met them when I went to this Europe trip. And by the time I came back, I was starting to binge all the episodes. I actually started binging them properly in a hotel, no, in an airport in Reykjavik that had a layover at, and a bookshop in Bath, England, is where I bought Tales from Moomin Valley. And now this is now Moomins does relate a bit to the channel because Moomins are a very literary phenomenon. But I will say I've only read this book. I have not read any of the other Moomins books. So take my opinion of what you will. A lot of people talk about the books. I'm very happy that the Moomin phenomenon that's been happening recently is based on the books as much as it is on the anime. But the thing is, uh, the new movie will doubtlessly draw from both things, as those are both of the things that people love about Moomins. They generally love them equally, though the book is seen as more canonical. So I've seen almost the entire show, so I feel like I have some opinions to talk to about it. So I love the Moomins, and that's part of why I crashed out a bit when I found out that Rebecca Sugar was set to direct the new Moomins movie. Now, I just want to clarify before I really get into it that there's no reason that you should actually dislike Rebecca Sugar. There's no reason that you should dislike her. I mean, she uh she spreads messages of love and acceptance and tolerance, and she's about being very emotional and embracing your emotions and all this good stuff. And her stuff is always really well executed in a way. Great animation, great songs, and it's all very high quality. But so many gripes that I have with it that so many other people share, which I suppose it's the mark of a good artist that so many people are reacting so in such varied ways to it. But that doesn't mean I like it. So I'm gonna be talking about that. Now, surely this movie's going to benefit from a lot of those talents that Rebecca Sugar has in her writing and directing. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of songs. It'd be silly if there weren't a lot of songs. And I'm sure the animation will be eye popping. It better be. I mean, it's a theatrical film. Rebecca Sugar's known for that kind of Steven Universe like blobby art style. I don't doubt that that will be brought to the movie. Uh, Characters like Little My, I'm sure will be handled great because that like firecracker female personality, I'm sure will be very easily written by Rebecca Sugar. But there's a lot of things that I'm worried about. But first, I'm also going to talk about my relationship with Rebecca Sugar. Steven Universe. That's basically that's basically her to me. I mean, that's like the main project that she's helmed, the main thing she's worked on. When I think of Rebecca Sugar, I think of Steven Universe and vice versa. She also worked on Adventure Time. I don't love the episodes that she worked on. At least some of the ones that like really show her thumbprints. There's a lot she worked on. A lot that she probably just storyboarded, a lot that she probably just co-wrote or something. But I'm thinking of the episodes that really seem like her style, like the door one, the one where they're trying to make it through the door. I thought I remembered that one being fun, and I tried to show it to my roommate as an introduction to Adventure Time just a few months ago, and it went over horribly because that's not really a good episode, just period. At least not it just doesn't work for me. Like the whole thing is an allegory for them trying to make it through the door, and they have to learn to work together, and when their song makes them work together, then they go through the door. And it's like so it's super easy to understand concept, but it's like 11 minutes of that, and there's very little humor and very little fun and adventure, and it's mostly just this like sparkly, twinkly Rebecca Sugar shit that I don't like. But my roommate was just like, that was cute. And then we didn't watch another episode. So it really did not work on her. And I kind of don't like that. But Steven Universe is kind of a different story because when Steven Universe was originally on 2014 to I would say about 2016, in that period I was watching Steven Universe religiously. That's back when YouTube, you could still upload videos and just straight up pirate entire web series on it. All you had to have to do is like put it in the corner, or maybe you would speed it up a little bit or add a little bit of a white like vignette to the thing, and you could just get away with uploading anything. That's how I watched a lot of Adventure Time. That's how I watched a lot of regular show. That's how I started watching Steven Universe. But I love Steven Universe so much that when a new season came out, I would buy it on iTunes. And I was in love with Steven Universe. It was my favorite show for that long period of time. Now, it was only 2 years or something like that, but I was only like 14, 15 then, so 2 years was a long time. And after a while, I like became disenchanted with it. I think when I broke off was the point when Stephen was talking about how he didn't like that his mother killed somebody in the gem wars. She like shattered the one of the gems. And yeah, I haven't seen Steven Universe since I stopped watching it, but like I really soured on it at a certain point. Like when I first watched it, I thought it was so cool how it was so emotional, and it's so sparkly and twinkly, and I liked the emotionality of the characters and the depth and the wholesome vibes and all that. But then at a certain point, I started to completely sour on it. It seemed like I had got too much of the emotions. Now, I think one of the things I remember is that there's one episode. I'm not going to remember anybody's proper name here, but there's one episode where Steven's relative, who's like a pilot, comes to their like farm or whatever, and he flies the plane around, and some shit's happening. I don't know. But then at the end, when Stephen like almost gets hurt or something, he's he seems throughout the episode he seemed like a very serious character. He's generally kind of rough and tumble, and then at this moment he like sheds a tear for a moment when he sees that Stephen almost hurt himself. He wipes it away, and then just like you would have hurt yourself or something. I remember seeing him wiping away the tear and like And like my knee-jerk reaction was to roll my eyes because I thought to myself, okay, well, there's been a moment where a character has been moved to tears in almost every episode for the past, several episodes or something like that. And I was starting to get sick of it. I couldn't quite put it into words at that point, but it seemed to me like the show it was starting to feel like it was almost saying that sh- shedding a tear is like one of the only ways somebody shows their emotions. And I mean that's not the way it is in real life. Things are more complicated. And yeah, and then the whole story arc with Steven and his mom who shattered a gem. I thought that was kind of stupid, and that was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I kind of didn't go out of my way to watch it after that point, and I just forgot about it entirely. It's like it's just stupid because he was so this was like such a big reveal for him. He's like, "You can't believe it! You told me that she hurt somebody," and it's like, man, you knew that your mother fought in a war, right? And you're surprised that she like hurt somebody? I know Steven's all emotional and stuff, and he's like very soft and kind and gentle, but like when this new information came in, did he really have to like crash out like that? I mean, I feel like in real life, if something like this happens, you're faced with the very specifics of something that you already would have probably half known to have been true, but have ignored it, then you would take some time to process the information. You'd probably get quiet, withdraw for a while, like really take some time to process your emotions. But he seemed to crash out, and I started to feel this weird feeling of being left out because as I'm watching this show and I'm invested in the characters in the world and I'm getting to know their inner struggles and their inner personalities, and I'm starting to feel like I'm living in this world with the characters, I started to feel like the way the show was portraying the real world was almost leaving me out of it. Like, if I was in the show, I'd say, oh, come on, Steven, that's stupid. Why are you acting like this? But the show's kind of expecting me to say, like, no, Steven, it's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna, like, I'm gonna pat your head and, like, try to console you. And it wasn't working out for me. So I loved Steven Universe for the longest time, but I sort of fell out of love with it too. And ever since then, I've been a bit sour about Rebecca Sugar, and that's kind of why I'm not so happy to see that she's come to direct a Moomins movie. That's the thing. That's the thing, is that, and this, I want to get back to why I am worried here. Finally, at like minute 15 or whatever, however long through the video this is, I think the Moomins, uh, the style that we've seen Rebecca Sugar work with on Adventure Time and Steven Universe is very high energy. It's very dramatic. It's very emotional. All the characters have their own personal triggers and insecurities that causes them to lose emotional stability very easily when they are pressed. And that's where a lot of the conflict comes from, are these explosive interpersonal conflicts that will make people cry and scream and try to beat each other up, try to hurt each other, but then they learn to hug it out and go back to loving each other again and understand each other and uh and it sort of fixes itself eventually. It's not always immediate. I do remember an episode of Steven Universe where uh Garnet and Pearl, I think, they were mad at each other. The episode ended with them still mad at each other. But the point is, the relationship will eventually be built back up. And while the Moomins places a lot of value on emotions, it's also very rational. The Moomins are very cool-tempered, level-headed. They seem to know how to solve their problems, and they aren't super explosive in expressing their emotions. They may cry, they may have insecurities, they may have all these things, but they're generally in control of their emotions. And the Rebecca Sugar style of conflict and writing where a character will start crying because because something has triggered them emotionally, and the world will seem to stop to solve this problem. I think in the Moomin world would feel out of place, partially because the Moomins love each other and they don't have the Moomins love each other and they don't have too many arguments like that because they just work with each other. I mean, I don't really want to see interpersonal conflict amongst the family because everybody's nice to each other and everything's fine and peaceful and idyllic. And that's kind of part of the draw of Moomins, is that Moomin Valley is like this perfect little world tucked away in nature and everybody loves each other. And that's great. But even when they do try to solve their problems, even when they do have problems to solve, they're very rational about it. I mean, and Rebecca Sugar is very emotional about it. So, right off the bat, I'm worried that not only will the stuff that personally annoys me about Rebecca Sugar, where everything's explosive and melodramatic and starts to really lose its punch after a while when characters are is just seem to be completely just to, seem to be completely out of control emotionally. Like they lose control of their emotions, and nobody is sitting here saying, "Well, you really gotta fix yourself because you're crashing out all the time, and it's affecting other people, and we're not. The world isn't always going to stop to help you out." And bringing that to a world that people love because these characters are very cool tempered and level headed and rational about everything. Just checking my notes here to see what I wrote down next. Okay, yeah, Moomin Papa. It's a good time to talk about Moomin Papa. That's another thing I'm worried about. I'm a little worried about the what the depiction of Moomin Papa might be like in this movie, because Moomin Papa has some very delectable themes, both mostly in the books, but also a little bit in the anime. That would be very delectable for Rebecca Sugar, I think, because I mean, a lot of academic papers have been written apparently about his inner struggle. It's all sort of, which is all, how do I say this? Well, it's about masculine, like, insecurity and midlife crisis and wanderlust that Moomin Papa goes through. I could talk a lot more about it, but essentially he used to be a young, vivacious, virile young man who would go on all these adventures and do all these amazing things. And that's the vision he has of himself. But now that he's older and a patriarch of a family, he feels like he's lost that part of himself, and he wishes that he could go back to the listless youth that he once was. On occasion, he'll abandon his family in order to do that, but he'll always be brought right back to the family, like in that one story in Tales from Moomin Valley, where he meets the Hetty Fatteners, who are also filled with wanderlust, but their wanderlust is an empty lust. He finds out that now that he's older and more mature, he that part of his life is past. Even when it was there, it was kind of an empty pursuit. And now that he's older, his place is with his family. So there's a lot of themes dealing with masculinity there. And there's a little bit of, and more than just a little bit of ego involved, because he wears the top hat, which seems like a representation of how he wants to puff himself up as the patriarch of the household, when in reality he's a little doddering and he's a little silly, and at the end of the day, Moomin Mama's running the show, really. which sounds like a very negative portrait of him. But the thing I like about him is that he ultimately isn't. I mean, it's not like a lot of sitcoms or movies or shows nowadays where they try to subvert the all powerful dad archetype from God knows when. It's been so long by having him be like a doddering old doofus who can't do anything and who ignores the needs of his family and has lost all empathy. He's Movement Papa is still very much a functioning part of the family, and he does fulfill the patriarch role to some extent. He comes up with good ideas. He acts as the leader and a good leader at many times. He offers Moomin a lot of good advice. He's clearly very mature. He just has these insecurities that cause him to do things that can be problematic once in a while. But there's a lot there to munch on, and I'm sure Rebecca Sugar would love to delve into it. Maybe that'll be the major thing happening in the film. I don't know. But if it does, I'm very worried because, as I've said before, Rebecca Sugar tends to be very dramatic with her characters, and I'm worrying that the more dramatic she makes it, the more it will seem like Moomin Papa loses empathy. I, like he'll become even more doddering, or he'll do things that hurt his family even more. He'll he'll seem to lose empathy for them. He'll lose a bit of the fatherliness that he currently has. I'm worried that as he is written in the movie, he will start to lose that part of himself. That his character will become like completely debased, as a lot of these other subversive father figure characters are, into becoming like a completely, uh, more or less a horrible person who's unempathetic and completely incapable and incompetent, but still have this deluded vision of themselves as being this amazing person who can do everything. And I like the portrayal of Moomin Papa in the books and anime because he isn't really that. He deludes himself very easily, once he learns that he is once he learns that he's getting old, he'll have a midlife crisis very frequently. But he never hurts his family. And when Moomin's having some kind of problem, he'll always offer good advice. And I'm just hoping that with the advent of Rebecca Sugar and how she writes Moomin Papa, that he's not going to end up losing all of that good adviceness that he's spilling out. That his one insecurity is not going to be require the sacrifice of his empathy, require the sacrifice of his grasp on reality, that he can't be a good person and also have these flaws. These flaws get in the way of him being a good person. And with a lot of talk about toxic masculinity and patriarchy these days, I feel it's more likely than ever that those two things will start to come together with his character. I'm fine if they explore this facet of him. I mean, it's kind of hard not to because his whole character, the way he acts, is sort of based around this. But, I kind of don't want it to turn into such a binary as the Barbie movie kind of was, where where his masculine insecurities are sort of tantamount to patriarchy and toxicity and aren't simply the things men go through, right? On a daily basis, just their emotions. Anyway, the songs. Everybody loves Rebecca Sugar's songs. Uh, I won't deny that they're like well written, good songs and everything, but sometimes I feel like they're about things that are too small. And, in Adventure Time, Marceline sings a song about her dad stealing her fries and all of that. And obviously, the fries represent something much bigger than just the fries. So this song is actually super deep and meaningful. And everybody's like, whoa, that was perfect. But when that kind of technique is pulled out so many times, it seems like the song is kind of a cheap way to maximize emotions from something that's kind of small at some points. I feel like them being talking it out as characters would be enough. Well, what I think I'm trying to say is that it allows the creator uh, to be very indulgent when treating this particular emotion by letting the character like strike a pose, by having sparkles appear everywhere, by like a tear appearing in their eye. It's sort of over something that should be downplayed a bit more. And that's the thing with Rebecca Sugar. Everything's very sparkly. I mean, I'm probably just thinking about Steven Universe, where stars were a motif, stars were appearing everywhere, but it just in general, I don't know if I can explain it well enough, but there's a lot of moments where something is clearly supposed to instill wonderment in you or make you feel emotional, where the characters will have a tear in their eye during a song, during a part that's particularly beautiful to them. They'll see somebody dancing slowly and they'll think, wow, that's so gorgeous. Or they'll see like a star in the sky, a shooting star, and they'll think, wow, that's amazing. And they'll wipe a tear from their eye. And there's so much sparkly shit everywhere. And I, I mean, it was great for a while, but I got sick of that. And I think the Moomins is great because everything's very downplayed, everything's rational, everything is very taken very slowly and quietly. And I think Rebecca Sugar's style sort of works, would could work with that because she likes the daily life, she likes wholesomeness, and she likes quaint things, but the way she treats them, I think, may not always make it feel like Moomins. And as I've seen other people mention before, she's an American. She's not she's not Finnish. She's not from Europe. So how much can you trust her with the movements really? We're all Americans. We love fast-paced, explosive, dramatic things. And how is she really going to understand that? Can Americans really comprehend the European mind, which likes things that are taken low and slow and quiet? Will we really be able to do that? Maybe the Moomins movie will prove us wrong. Now, I just wanted to end the video off with one more thing, and that's the ultimate message that ultimate message of hope that this movie will be good, because Rebecca Sugar loves the Moomins, and she clearly does love the Moomins. She's a fan of them. She posted a photo on Instagram when she was talking about how she was assigned to do the movie, showing a mug that she had next to her laptop. Every day on Steven Universe, she said she would work with this mug of the Moomin on it. The Moomin troll. Tove Janssen's like drawing of Moomin on the little mug. And it was very cute. It's very clear that she loves the Moomins and she wants to do this. And I just feel very happy for her that she got to do this because artists don't always get to choose what they want to do. And I'm sure that she'd be very happy to do this. I'm sure that she was so happy when she learned that she was going to be doing a Moomins movie, that she's going to be allowed to write and direct it. That I just feel glad for her. Is all I want to say. And I thought that that was a good way to end the video because of it's a very hopeful message. Now I'm now this video has gone on for long enough. Uh That's all I wanted to talk about. The Moments movie, I am worried about how Rebecca Sugar will do it, but she hasn't done an adaptation yet, so I don't know how she does that with her style. Maybe she'll pay close attention to the source material, not just the canon and the stories, but also, most importantly, the vibes. And maybe she'll keep it on the down low. Can't wait for Snufkin to say ACAB though, because he probably will. All right, see you later.